Hey there, it's Imran and you're watching Imran Plus. Welcome back if you're a returning subscriber. If you're new here, thank you so much for clicking. While you're here, make sure you click that subscribe button so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Today, we're going to be talking about Dune. I finally had the chance to go and see this movie in the theater, and I am so excited to talk about it with you all. From here on, spoiler, so pause this video, go watch Dune, and then come back and let's talk about spoiler. So I want to start off first with talking about Arrakis. I really was amazed by the duality that Denis Villeneuve presents about Arrakis. We are first introduced to Arrakis with a narration by Chani devoting her love and passion and admiration for her home. You know, and it's juxtaposed, her voice is juxtaposed with this beautiful image of the wind carrying the sand across the dunes and the spice sparkling in the air. And it's just really beautiful and mesmerizing. And I really loved it. And I could see why the people of Arrakis, the Fremen, love their planet so much. It's their home. They've been here. And to them, this is beautiful. And then we move into meeting the House of Atreides and the Imperium. And then the view of Arrakis changes. We are seeing it through the eyes of the House of Atreides and, you know, these colonizers, these oppressors, as Chani says. And suddenly Arrakis is seen as a wasteland and a hellhole and completely useless and so like harmful and dangerous, other than for the spice that we're here to take. And that was a really interesting contrast. I really liked seeing how he created that duality of Arrakis, depending on with what lens you're looking at it from. And that was really amazing. And I want to see more of that. I thought that was really good. I really appreciated that. I also really liked this concept of allegiance and trust. In the House of Atreides, we have like this allegiance to the house, and there's a chant of Atreides. The soldiers are yelling Atreides as they go into battle, and you have the bagpipes playing over them, and there's this loyalty to House of Atreides. And yet within the Imperium, there isn't any loyalty to that house. There seems to be, even the Emperor himself is not loyal to the Imperium being a whole thing. He has his favorites. He's a jealous man, and he, you know, gets the House of Arrakis to stage a coup. And I thought that was really fascinating. There's a lot of there's a lot to be said about trust and loyalty and deception and betrayal. We have Dr. Yue, who we thought we could trust because, you know, his first introduction is with when Lady Jessica asked him to communicate to Paul about something that, you know, it seems like a very trusted secret between trusted people, and yet he betrays Duke Leto and hands him over to the Baron. So I like that. And then you also see those same concept in the in the Fremen, but in a different way, because there's an allegiance to culture and tradition, to religion, and to their land. And I think that that's also fascinating, especially now that we have, I guess, intruders or guests or new members with Lady Jessica and Paul joining the Fremen. So I'm interested to see how that conversation continues. And then I also really liked the importance about indigenous people and their connection to their nature versus colonizers and occupation, and how they exploit those same resources. You know, spice is kind of a MacGuffin in this story, and for, you know, the Imperium, it's a resource to make money off of. But for the Fremen, this is a natural resource. This is a medicine. This is a spiritual device. It is a hallucinogen, there's a lot more like personal and valuable aspects to it rather than just a commodity for space travel. And so that I like that a lot, and I'm very excited to see that conversation play out, because I think that that is a pertinent issue, and I think is very reflective of our society today. I also really liked Paul's visions, but I was really surprised when he broke his vision. Like, I was so shocked when he killed Jamis, because I thought that these visions were supposed to like hint at the future, and he was like gonna follow them, and they were supposed to be like like premonitions. And but I was just, it was such a plot twist, I never saw it coming. And I think it plays into Paul's, you know, lineage as a politician and as a royal, as an Atreides, that he would not just trust even his own visions blindly and just do what they're telling him to, that he would have his own agenda and his own plan and his own interests to serve. I really, really like that. I mean, I was so blown away by that, because I would have followed the visions, and when he killed him, he like changed it. So now these visions are not necessarily like the future, they're just a possibility, I guess. So I don't know how that works. That's why I'm gonna go back and read the books, because that's really interesting. And so Spice, then they want, I mean, the Imperium uses it so that the navigators can see the correct path for space travel, but the Bene Gesserit want to use it to create a human who can do that himself. But if these visions aren't necessarily the future, but a possible future, how does that play into the concept of the Messiah? You know, because the Messiah doesn't necessarily need to follow these visions. He can do whatever he wants, and it seems like Paul is doing that. And so I'm very hesitant, and I don't trust Paul at all. It's also very interesting because there isn't necessarily, like, I am personally like just interested to watch it play out, but I'm not necessarily like rooting for Paul. I am to some extent, but at the same time, I know that it's dangerous for the Fremen for him to be involved. I don't think that he has the best interests of them in mind. I think that he is going to use them, and it's like this Pocahontas situation with Paul and Chani, and I don't know how that's going to play out. I don't. Even the visions in the movie aren't telling me that. So that's really cool. I like that a lot. Speaking of the Messiah aspect, I think that the concept of this Lisan al-Gaib is fascinating, because I don't know, like, it seems clear that Paul is the one, but I also am not I'm not 100%, because I think when the crysknife is handed to Lady Jessica by that house worker, she's saying that Jessica is the one and that she's the Messiah, and she's giving the crysknife to her. But then we have Paul following in the footsteps of what needs to be done. We hear Dr. Leah Kynes, like, she says, I guess, part of a prophecy when she's like, he will know the traditions as if he's one of their own when he's putting on the still suit. So I don't know what that means. And also Jessica's future baby, who we see in the vision, which now doesn't necessarily mean they will be born, but that could be another factor in this whole like Messiah situation. So that was really cool. And I think that I also saw another point about like Paul following the footsteps of being in Atreides. I think that the bagpipes part, like the bagpipes, I know some people didn't like that in the soundtrack, but I think that really created a parallel between the House of Atreides and America, because, you know, we have the bagpipes used in military settings and to symbolize the Atreides military force, and bagpipes are used in the United States military as well. And so I like that parallel a lot, because they are kind of like this, you know, they are similar, because they're going to this new planet, this new land, to help people, to form an alliance, but I sense that there's only going to be destruction that will come. I also really loved the voice. I didn't know about the voice coming into this movie. I only knew about the visions, and boy, was I blown away. Though that was so cool. It is so well realized. I never thought you could make like this, like I guess kind of like mind control, telekinesis power, like visualized so well, so well. I think the best use of it was when the head of the Bene Gesserit first meets Paul and commands him to move across the room and kneel before her. That scene, that was amazing. I was like, wow, this is really cool. And that's also when I was like, this is not just a political slow movie. It is, there are a lot of sci-fi elements, and I was very pleased by that. So really, really cool use of it. And I like that Paul is like a novice, and I like to see him use it as a beginner, and then his mother use it like how it's actually supposed to be used. And then of course the Bene Gesserit, she used it in a very dangerous way. It kind of reminds me of The Force, which I guess that Star Wars, was inspired by this. And then I'm also really interested to see Lady Jessica's future. Like I said, Rebecca Ferguson did a really good job here as Lady Jessica, and I am so excited to see where she goes. I think at the end of the movie, they have set up Lady Jessica, Paul, and Chani to go down very different paths, and there's some sort of tension between them because it seems like Paul, of course, we were first introduced to this whole concept of the Bene Gesserit creating like the Messiah through bloodline mixing over centuries, and Paul's like, it's all part of the plan, and his mother is like, there's a purpose for this, and it seems like Paul is like kind of doing his own thing, and his mother kind of wants to fulfill like that path while he's doing his own thing. And so I see tension there because Paul is now like kind of going with Chani and like charting a new path down that way. And so the last shot that we see of Jessica is one of like concern, suspicion, and I think like of scheming. She's definitely thinking of things, and I want to know what you're planning, Jessica. I want to know. I would be, yeah. It's really good. It's really, really good. I really like that a lot. And I also want to know the fate of her unborn child. Will the child even be born at this point? Because now that we know that visions can be changed and don't necessarily need to be true, we don't know if she's going to ever deliver that baby. And we don't know if that baby is going to have the voice or the powers of the Messiah, the visions. Like, the Bene Gesserit like head sister said that there are other prospects. So what if Paul is just one option, and what if this future baby is the true Messiah? That's really, really fascinating, and I'm very interested to see how that plays out. And also, does Jessica know that Chani is the girl from Paul's vision? I suspect that she does, and I suspect that's why she does not like how this is playing out, because I think she knows that if Paul continues to follow this and continue to chase after his vision girl, Chani, that she will like lose, she's guiding him to a destination, and I think he will lose that path. And I think that she it's very interesting. She warns Paul about the Bene Gesserit having their own agendas, but true to form, she also has her own agenda, and yeah, I think there's a conflict brewing. So I'm excited to see how that plays out. So I want to talk a little bit more about my favorite characters in detail. We talked about Lady Jessica, Paul as well, we talked about, but Dr. Leah Kynes was really, really cool. I was so disappointed when she died. She was so good. She was so good. When she sees the ornithopter fly away and is like, okay, it's time for me to leave, and goes and summons the sandworm and then just stands ready and pulls out those two like tools. I was at that moment, I didn't know about riding sandworms from before, so that's when I figured it out. I was like, she's gonna ride the sandworm. Oh my gosh, she's going to summon the sandworm and ride it away, and then she gets stabbed right before she's able to escape. Oh, I did not see that coming, and I was devastated because I was like, this is the end of this really cool character. she was so cool, and I was so sad, but I was really pleased that she was able to go on her own terms and summon the sandworm and take down those soldiers with her. That was really, really, really great. I love that. And she was able to go back into, like, I mean, she was one with the sandworm. You know, that was the only one that she said she worshipped. I forgot what the Shai Halud, I think. And so she was able to go back to him. That was really cool. And I like that she was, even though an imperial ecologist, she was her own agent. And she was very much loyal to Arrakis only. I like that a lot. And I think her conversation when Paul is like, oh, trying to be political, and it was very adorable to see that, because, you know, you could see the foundlings of a future leader there, but is someone who is so inexperienced and a novice, being like, what if I mean, he was a pretty good idea. He's like, what if I marry the emperor's daughter as a political marriage? And she was like, how, like, you're gonna make a move for the throne in this type of situation when they already tried to eradicate you. That scene I really liked, because there was a good back and forth between them, and both of the characters could shine through. So I liked that a lot. And then Stilgar, I liked that he is a leader that seems like one of the people. You know, he does not seem above anybody, because they all dress the same. That's a factor there. And I mean, that's also a concept in like Islam, which I think the Fremen are kind of derived from, about this equality and everyone is the same in front of God. And so Stilgar as a leader, I think, is a good example of that. And he has this like calmness and coolness about him, but also something about the way he speaks and looks at you demands respect and carries authority. And I really liked Javier Bardem's performance there. And I'm really excited to see more of him. We only got a little bit. His scene when he's meeting Duke Leto for the first time was really a great introduction, because he was not unlikable at that moment, but he seemed like someone who, you know, was there for his people and knew what he needed to get done and was about business. And it was distinct from the way that we had been seeing with the House of Atreides. So really excited for him. And then I was really sad when Jason Momoa's Duncan died, even though I knew it was coming. It was in the vision, and when we see the guards coming in, it's the same hallway. I knew this is his time, but I want to say that his escape from the raid was very thrilling. It was very, very thrilling. I was on the edge of my seat on that one, but there's a scene that I liked more than that, but that was a really good escape, and I think him flying the Thornycopter was really cool. That should be a ride. But very visually arresting and also thrilling. And I think Jason Momoa did a really good job there. There's a really nice bond between him and Paul, and I think Timothée Chalamet is responsible for that, as well as Jason Momoa. He did a good job there. Now I want to talk about Oscar Isaac's Duke Leto. I wish I could see more of him. Honestly, I think he left us too soon. And I didn't get to see more of him as a leader. I mean, what we did saw, I was impressed by, and so that's why I wish I got to see more. I think Oscar Isaac was doing something really cool. So that was sad. And then his death was really tragic, being betrayed and losing everything, and knowing he's going to lose everything, and saying he wished he had married Jessica. It was really, really, really sad. But very good performance by Oscar Isaac, and I liked that a lot. And I loved his death scene, which we'll talk about in a minute. Zendaya as Chani is ethereal. She's hypnotic. She's very mesmerizing. But when she spoke, I was taken out of it. And I don't know, like, I was very like into it until she spoke, because at that's when I was like, oh, it's Zendaya. Like, it didn't sound like Chani, it sounded like Zendaya. And I think it might be because she didn't get a chance to really disappear into the role like the rest of the cast did. I mean, her scenes are so minimal. They could have been shot in the same couple of days. And so I think it's because of that. In the next movie, we'll get to see her explore that more and really define the character. But yeah, I was not completely sold on her there yet, but I have high hopes. I know that I'm a fan of Zendaya, and I know that she can deliver, but I was not expecting to be taken out of it by Zendaya, you know? So that was interesting. But I will say her best line was the last line this is only the beginning. I think she delivered that really well, and with like the smirk on her face, and we see that guy riding the sandworm in the back. Great way to end the movie, actually. Great way. Even though I was like, come on, I want to see more. I'll stay here for another like 5 hours, but that was good. My favorite shots in the movie are when House of Atreides is arriving on Arrakis for the first time, and the doors of the ship open, and we get a back shot of them and their front lit, and the light is like outlining their silhouette. That was beautiful, absolutely stunning. My favorite shot in the movie. At that point, I was like, this movie is art. This is art. It's a masterpiece, and Denis Villeneuve is truly a great director. This has cemented him. I think it's some of his best work. My favorite shot. I think like if I could get that framed and put it up on my wall, I would. I really would. Then I really liked the shot of the ornithopter floating. I think it's in the trailer, right when we first see them and they lift off, and it's just like, it's flying, but it's like still in the middle of the frame, and then you see another one out of focus like fly past it, and like it's like a runner, you know, like have you seen videos of like a sprinter running and their head is still, but their arms are moving, but their head is perfectly still? It was like that. Like the body of the thornicopter is like still, but the wings are moving so fast. And I think the dragonfly wings are genius. Very, very cool. That's a really nice shot. I like that a lot as well. And I think the tech in this movie is excellent, very well realized. I thought the shields were so cool, and I like that. I like the colors, obviously the blue and the red, but I liked how they were depicted, and they kind of disappear when you're not like moving around or being hit by something. I like that a lot, and so that was really cool. My favorite scenes, Paul, of course, meeting the head of the Bene Gesserit. Again, that was really cool and a very, very compelling scene. Timothée Chalamet's acting in that. Wow. I was very impressed. That's when I started getting like that's when he drew me in. That was when he first drew me in, and after that I was locked in on him. He really did a great job in that. And then I also really liked when the Bene Gesserit arrive and when they leave. Their ship coming in on the rainy, windy night with just the lights, and then they land and they're all in these black silhouettes walking out. It was so mysterious and enthralling and beautiful. Very captivating. Loved it. I loved it a lot. And then when they're leaving and that conversation with Jessica, and then you can see Paul in the fog just standing there. That was so cool. So that whole scene, that whole sequence, I love that a lot. But my favorite scene is when they visit the spice mine. When my favorite characters, Dr. Leah Kynes, Paul, and Dr. Leto, Paul, and Duke Leto visit the spice mine. That was really good. And Gurney. Gurney was good, and I really liked when Paul would like, I can recognize your footsteps, old man. I wish we had seen more of that. I think he was a really nice character, and he was gone too soon. We didn't see a body though, so I'm holding out hope. But that trio in that scene was excellent. And I think the sandworms were so well realized in this movie and very, very hypnotic. Disturbing, but strangely like beautiful creatures that you're in awe of them, you know. I really, really like that aspect of it. And so when that is the most thrilling scene in the movie for me. That's the scene where I was on the edge of my seats, and I was actually worried because I was like, we could lose any of these characters right now. And I think it was really inspiring of Duke Leto to be like, we're gonna go and save these men. Then they dive down into the sand and they are like, come on, let's go. And they're like trying to save everybody, but the sandworm's getting closer. And then Paul is exposed to the spice, and we see that vision, which was really cool. And then I like how later on we see him like looking around, and he's just looking around at the machinery, but then later on we see what he was looking at and it matches his movements. That was really nice. And I also really liked how we are introduced to the sandworm. Like, it is a force of nature. And you know, like nature can be beautiful even when it's deadly, and that was the case here. And like when the sand is becomes like water rippling and like flowing down, and wow, that was gorgeous, gorgeous. My favorite scene by far. I'm gonna go back and rewatch it once I can. And also, I liked the when they're escaping from the ecological testing center, Paul and his mother, and they're flying the ornithopter into the sandstorm. That needs to be a ride as well. That needs to be a ride. That was a really cool scene, and like I could feel like the debris hitting the glass, and I was also worried there that they would just crash and Jessica would die. And I thought it was really cool when he accepted the nature and was like one with it, and he just let go of the wheel and like, you know, held on to his seatbelt. That was really cool to watch. I like that a lot. That was a cool scene too. About the music, Leaving Caladan is my favorite track. I love the use of that guitar riff that they have. It's like an electric guitar. Oh, it's beautiful, and I think it really captures like Dune. And he uses it in very unique ways throughout the movie. But I think that track is my favorite because it's such a beautiful moment, especially when Paul is walking and the ships are leaving from the sea. That was so amazing. That was breathtaking, and the score is just rising and flaring, and there's a sense of pride with the House of Atreides that we are going to leave our home planet with honor and dignity and go to this new planet and do our best. But yet there's like a danger in the score. It's my favorite. It's my absolute favorite score. And he uses that same riff in another score later on. I can't remember the name, but just a few scenes later. And I like that a lot as well. About the score, I think I mentioned this earlier, but I think the bagpipes actually work to symbolize the House of Atreides. I think that worked for me. And I think the hunting as well, hunting of the bulls, reminds me of America a lot, actually. And I think those parallels are intentional. And it also, like, just the way that track is like scored and arranged gives me insight into Duke Leto's way of leadership. I think there is a unity there that he cultivates, and I think that there's, again, that allegiance. Same way that people are, you know, we have the Pledge of Allegiance, and there's like allegiance to America, and I think that parallel was fascinating for me. It's not like my favorite score, but I like it actually a lot to be the theme of House of Atreides. I know some people didn't. It works for me. So yeah, overall, I loved the movie. I thought it was fantastic. I could talk about it more and more. Let me know if you want to have more discussions. I would love to make, you know, like more focused videos and talk in depth about my thoughts about it, and talk to you all about, you know, what you liked and have that conversation. Let me know if that's something you'd like to see. But I love this movie so much. The more time passes, the more I want to see it again and revisit it, and I can't wait for the next one. So for the future movies, I want them to keep doing what they're doing. I want them to stay authentic to the material, and I want them to focus on, you know, telling the story right and taking their time. I think Denis Villeneuve gets that right, and it shows. I think they should take the criticisms and apply them. There needs to be better representation, I think, and I think there's other criticisms out there too that are valid, and he should take that in. But otherwise, if he does that and keeps what he's doing, this a perfect franchise, and I will be there right at the front of the line to see it and experience it. So give me more. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Dune. Let me know what you thought. If you are a Dune fan and have read the book and know everything about it, let me know what you thought. What did you think of this adaptation? Did you love it? I suspect that Dune fans would like this. And what are you most excited to see coming soon? Make sure to mark your comments as spoiler if they are. And what would you suggest a new Dune fan do from now until the next movie? And then if you haven't seen Dune, if you have seen Dune but aren't like a Dune diehard fan from before, what did you think coming into this as a new fan like myself? Let me know. I really can't wait to hear your thoughts. I really want to talk more about this movie with you. And I can't wait for more. So thank you so much for watching Imran Plus. I hope you had a great time. Lots more videos coming soon, but in the meantime, make sure to like this video and subscribe. Click the bell icon to make sure you don't miss any upcoming videos. And don't forget to share this video with your friends and fellow movie enthusiasts. Until then, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.